Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, founder of a revolutionary medical sales training and mentorship program called the Medical Sales Career Builder, and I'm also host of the Medical Sales Podcast. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire world. It doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing and diagnostic lab, you name it, you will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 10% performer within your role, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. And remember, I am a medical sales expert sharing my own opinion about this amazing industry and how it can change your life. Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel. And today we have Sam Cooper again for part 2. If you listen to part 1, I know you can't wait for the rest. So I'm going to say no more. Aesthetics, crazy stuff, cool stuff, common stuff, the reality of this very public procedure that happens in medical sales. Gotta listen to it. Sam Cooper. As always, we're bringing you guests that are doing things differently in the medical sales space. And we really do hope you enjoy this interview. Okay, so let's talk about the team dynamic here when you're out there seeing these surgeons. Is it a solo show? You work for InMode and you have a territory and that is yours? Or do you have clinical specialists and associates and other people cross-functionally that you need to tie in to do your job?
Great question. So we have a big team. So number one, we have a sales team that, is, a large team of reps, managers, and directors. So the reps really are in charge of prospecting. So finding new opportunities, identifying who would be a good fit for working with us. I think the traditional thing is for us to set like an introductory meeting with them to identify what they're interested in and introduce them to InMode. Then, they basically kind of tee up a manager who really talks about the financials of buying a machine.
Oh, that's
Because,
interesting.
these machines are expensive. These
Sure.
are devices that people are normally either spending a large amount of money on or taking out a loan for. So then the manager is kind of going to go over all the different implications of financing, you're getting a loan for this, the tax write-offs that are associated with it, what the
Sure.
contracts look like, how to
Yeah.
configure the machine. And then, the director oversees all of that. But then, when the sale gets made, there is, two different types of teams that have to collaborate in order to make this purchase of a device successful. One is the clinical team, which is nurses, doctors that have experience with these devices that can train this new customer or this new user on how to use it properly. And in our world, we're always going for best results, right? So how to get the best results with this machine.
Sure.
Then I think this is very particular to the aesthetic industry, is that there is a marketing team because these devices have to be marketed. So if someone wants to be successful with this device, these are the type of devices that can't just sit in your office and you can't like not let anybody know about it and just use it behind the scenes. These
Sure.
devices have to be marketed on things like Instagram and websites and search engine optimization, and be, let the general public know that I have this machine that performs this procedure, and, you should come in for it and do a consultation for it to see if you're a good fit for this. So InMode basically has a marketing team that teaches people how to be successful with this. So it's basically a combination of a sales team,
Mm-hmm.
a clinical team, and what we call a practice development team, which can also be coined as a marketing team.
Wow. Now, can green people get this type of career, or is this? I mean, I know anyone can get anything in a because this world does not operate in a vacuum. But typically speaking, is this entry level friendly, or do you need to be an experienced representative that's had multiple years of nuanced experience to become to be someone that works for you?
Great question. So I'll start with my like little story after college, which is that I wanted to be a medical device. I wanted to work at a company like InMode, but they weren't going to hire somebody right out of college. And the advice that I got was go sell something that is a piece of capital equipment, that is a tangible item that costs a good amount of money, that you have to sign like a contract or like a loan or a lease for. and prove yourself in that for at least 1 year and then come back and talk to us.
Mm.
So my path was that for 1 year, I took that advice and I sold copiers, which I think is, we hire a lot from that. So that would be
Sure,
the
makes
entry level.
sense.
And I actually got fired from selling copiers after 1 year. So
That
I
works
wasn't,
perfectly.
yeah. And then I, met who is now the VP of InMode.
Wow.
And he was a sales manager at the time, and really
Wow.
went after him. So like when I was interviewing, I was passionate. I, you know, uh, let him know how bad that I wanted this. I highlighted, the good things about my experience. And, I think what they wanted to see was that I was someone that was gonna, work really hard and figure this out.
Right.
Which I ultimately did,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
God. But
Yeah.
I think going back to say that, if you don't have any experience at all, then you're likely not going to be considered.
Right.
But if you're the type of person that's willing to take feedback on what you need to do in order to get to that point, that
Amen.
is something where you can take a fast track.
I love it. I love it. And it's funny, and I bring that up because you know what we do. As our company, Barber Success, we have the medical sales career builder for any green people to get access and get positions in all of medical sales. Including aesthetics, even diagnostic, you name it, anything in medicine. And with aesthetics, though, particularly, our aesthetics experts, they all say this similar thing to what you said. They say for aesthetics, we look for highly experienced reps, and not so much because you need to be experienced, but they want to find people that have just been slapped in the face so many times, and they got up anyway to do whatever they're supposed to be doing, and selling alarm systems, selling copiers. It cultivates that kind of person for aesthetics specifically. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think you have to sell something that is not sexy at all, and then you can sell something that's sexy.
Right.
And but yeah, but I do think that it doesn't in this world, you don't have to subscribe to the idea that you have to sell copiers for 5, 6, 7 years. It's not
Right.
that long of a path. If you can prove yourself at one of these entry level companies that actually give you really good training, and they do a great thing, which is that they allow you to get kicked in the teeth. They create pain that can later be alleviated by working for a medical device company that's great, and you can love sales and love your job and love your life. So I actually enjoy like seeing people that are at that point where they're like, hey, I've been working so hard. It's just that, and I've actually been doing well. It's just that I'm not passionate about alarm systems or copiers or toilet paper.
So
And
so let me ask you a question then. What is the shortest amount of time, and I'm talking to you, the shortest amount of time that Sam would hire someone? And let me be abundantly clear. Let me take one of our students, right? We have students right now that are really being prepared to be amazing in this industry. What is the shortest amount of time you would need to see from someone taking a stint at something like a copier company for you to say, you know what, you've spent enough time there and you really want this, and you've been vouched for by Evolve Success? Let's go. What is the shortest amount of time?
well, since I spent 1 year at copiers and then got into this, I don't want anyone to beat my record. 1 year and 1 month, particularly, would be the shortest amount of time.
Oh man, I set you up for that one, Sam. I set you up. That is fantastic. That's really cool. We've had two other aesthetics representatives and not even representatives. We've had two aesthetics professionals on our show, and you being the third. They literally said what you said. They said this aesthetics is just it's different. They also said though that aesthetics is the one field where you do not need a college degree. How true is that for InMode?
I actually do think that that's true, believe it or not, is that, I almost felt like not that I wasted my college degree, but I realized that, you know, this can be done with a skill set that you don't go over in college. So
Mhm.
it's not that important. And I have seen people without college degrees get hired into this industry and do really well.
Right,
It's more
right,
about your skill.
right. Yeah. So I want you to get creative with me. Get creative with me, Sam. If you met someone that had no sales experience whatsoever, what type of thing would you need to see to say, okay, maybe I'll take a chance on you?
The number one thing I think I would need to see is I would need to see soft skills in the form of being able to tell a story, being able to confidently speak and present. So if they had no sales experience whatsoever, but they have that innate gift of being able to properly and compelling tell a story in a compelling way. Sorry, that is the for me actually like the number one requirement is
Mhm.
that you've got to have that. The second thing I would want to see is I would want to see I think everyone says the term like, hey, I will run my head through a wall for you, Sam. I will work so hard, I'll learn,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. But I would want to see an actual plan for that.
Mhm.
So I don't fall for the I'll run my head through a wall for you. I would say, okay, if you really are a hard worker, I want you to map out day by day, week by week, and quarter by quarter exactly what that looks like for you. And
Mhm.
then let me take a look at it.
Mm.
So
Come
you'll
on.
see
I
right
love it.
then and there whether someone's full of it or not.
I love it. I love it. I love that. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. All right, we're gonna switch gears one more time. So I want to go back to the sentiment of the patient, and let's go back to the men. What is the most common procedure that men get?
I would say that well, there's a difference between surgical and non-surgical. So surgical, I would say definitely uh facelift, jawline, older patient, the man that's gotten that loose neck and
Hmm.
just has absolutely zero jawline anymore.
Sure. Sure.
I think, I do see a lot of rhinoplasty and blepharoplasty. I think, men get eye bags and, that's, so I would kind of have those tied for second. In the non-surgical world, I think the number one things that I see people getting are Botox, number one, which is
Hmm.
just, paralyzing the muscles that you don't make lines,
Hmm.
on your, forehead and wrinkles. And then, laser procedures for skin. So like InMode makes something called the Morpheus 8. See that is very popular with men, or other sort of laser procedures that are for skin
Sure.
rejuvenation.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And then let's talk about you. How do you make this all work? And what does your social life look like? Considering you have all these celebrity surgeon friends outside of work, do you have a family? Is it just you making the world work on your own? Talk to us.
Yeah, so I'm single. I don't have like a wife or kids or anything like that. I'm 32 years old, but I'm really tight with my twin brother. He works with me,
Hmm.
so he's on my team here at
Whoa, 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 whoa! Stop.
yeah.
You wait. What? How did we miss this? You work with. Wait, he didn't even say brother, folks. He said my. You say twin brother?
Yeah.
We have to have like a whole other episode now
Yeah.
on what did twin brother do in the plastic surgery sales world.
Yeah.
Um, wow. I don't even know where to go with this. You're stuck with me here. So how did that happen?
So, my brother, so basically, I went from copiers to selling lasers.
Hmm.
And then my brother was working at Cintas selling toilet paper.
Hmm.
And so when I got into this job, I told him, hey, this is an amazing thing. You've got to consider getting into this at all costs. At first, he didn't want to do it, but then uh, he eventually kind of came around, and then we hired him at InMode, and he immediately did, fantastic.
Oh, that is so. Are you guys the twins that I have to have everything different from him, or is he, or the twins that no, we're tandem. He is me, I am him. What kind of twins are you?
I would say somewhere in between. So,
So,
yeah, like,
do you ever play jokes on your customers or colleagues?
oh yeah, all the time, all the time. We make up for lost time because we never played tricks on teachers or girlfriends when we were young. So
Right.
now it's really funny because
So that,
I'll go into a doctor's office and have a full meeting with them, and then the next meeting I'll say, yeah, I'm coming, but then my brother Jack will go, and then they'll be like,
oh, that must be so much fun. I'm
it's a
jealous.
lot of fun.
I don't have a twin brother. I am jealous. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's extremely cool. So. So, let's talk about this now. You're in plastic surgery. You see what I think is so cool about your position is you truly are working with something that's very public, right? Spine surgery, orthopedic surgery, neuromodulation, all those different spaces. It's relatively private. I mean, when there's an innovation or breakthrough, the world gets to know about it. But as far as the technology and the advancements, unless you have those specific issues, you're just not going to know. Whereas in plastic surgery, it seems like technology and advancements, because so many celebrities are poster childs for it, you literally any average citizen has a relative enough understanding of the latest thing that people are doing. Where do you see us in 10 years? In 10 years, is it going to be that men and women are all doing whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, and the world is comfortable with it? Is it going to be that to get a BBL, it's going to be done by that time, be standardized, and it's going to be like a quick procedure and only, talk to us a little bit about where you see the future of technology and the sentiment around it going for plastic surgery.
Yeah, I love this question. So I think that, there is this massive shift right now in what I would call the category of biohacking on how do you keep your, the inside of your body alive for as long as possible? How do you increase your lifespan, but not only your lifespan on how long you live, but how do you increase your health span and how much of those years are actually good, healthy years of your life? And
Mm-hmm.
that's all focused around all these different things that you can do to keep the inside of your body as young as possible forever, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we're in the world of keeping the outside of your body as young as possible forever. So
Right.
doing all of these small preventative treatments, not drastic things like, surgical plastic surgery. There's so many different things like radio frequency laser, light, cryo devices that keep your skin looking young, keep wrinkles away, keep you looking good for as long as possible because that is the ultimate goal in our industry is not to have a drastic thing where you look crazy different, but for you to look like the youngest, healthiest version of yourself
Mm-hmm.
forever. And I think that in 10 years, there's actually going to be a marriage of these two industries, the biohacking industry and the aesthetics industry. Meaning that, like, for example, one thing that we know is that you can do procedures that create new collagen in your skin, like our InMode's Morpheus 8 procedure. You
Mm-hmm.
can also take collagen supplements and these other things that create new collagen from the inside out. And so that's just like one small example, but I think that we're going to be looking at okay, like how do I actually live forever and look young forever at the same time?
Wow. Wow. I hope you're enjoying today's episode. And I want to let you know our programs cover the entire career of a medical sales professional. From getting into the medical sales industry, to training on how to be a top performer in the medical sales industry, to masterfully navigating your career to executive level leadership. These programs are personalized and customized for your specific career and background, and trained by over 50 experts, including surgeons. Our results speak for ourselves, and we're landing positions for our candidates in less than 120 days in top medical technology companies like Stryker, Medtronic, Merck, Abbott, you name it. Would you run an Ironman race without training and a strategy? You wouldn't. So why are you trying to do the same with a medical sales position? You need training, you need a strategy, and you need to visit evolveyoursuccess.com, fill out the application, schedule some time with one of our account executives, and let's get you into the position that you've always dreamed of. So, I mean, you're on the cutting edge and you understand things that we can't even begin to understand. Could you see a situation where, your 30-year-old look could sustain for 20, 30 years? Or is that, no, not, we're not,
Oh, I mean,
that's
absolutely. There's a guy right now, if you look him up on Instagram, his name is Brian Johnson, and he's
okay.
doing what's called the blueprint, which is he's, a tech billionaire that sold a company when he was young, and he's investing $2 million a year into basically figuring out a blueprint for people to.
Oh, yeah, the guy that wants to remain 18, that guy.
Exactly. So
Yes.
this guy is a perfect example of someone that's paving the way for, he's doing all these laser procedures, like, in mode laser procedures, machines that we make in order to evaluate how young his skin actually is. So he's, like, doing all these high level imaging of the
Wow.
amount of collagen, the amount of blemishes that are in his skin. And so he'll say things like, hey, I'm, 42 years old, but I have the skin of a 26-year-old. Or and then he does the same thing on the inside, like my kidney function, even though I'm 42, is the kidney function of a 26-year-old. So he's
Wow.
really measuring these things. And so yeah, I think that we are getting this down to a science on how you can look young or actually keep your skin and your body
Yeah.
age.
Yeah. So he might be the first person to break 130 years of age.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see at the end of his
Wow.
life.
Wow. Wow. Um, okay. So the last thing I want to address, well, we have a couple things to do, but the last thing I want to address is this. Well, okay. When you have, for example, two things. Number one, if I was to get something done like the neck surgery you're talking about, any man that does this or woman, how long does that actually last? Does that typically only last when you get a facelift, depending on what kind of skin you have? Is that a 5 year postponement? Is that a 20 year postponement? And what are people supposed to expect when they get that lift and it looks amazing? How long is this going to last?
That's a great question. And I think most people don't like to put an exact timeline on it because we kind of say, like, hey, we can turn back the clock, but we can't slow the speed of the clock moving forward. So people age differently based on a number of factors. For example, like for your skin, you lose 1% of your collagen every single year after the age of 30.
Okay.
So we can do all these procedures that get new collagen into your skin, but we can't prevent the loss of collagen. So in general, I would say for a surgical procedure like a facelift or a neck lift, where we're actually working on the deeper structures of your skin, your fascia, your, muscle sometimes. So those procedures should last with good circumstances in that 10-year range.
Okay.
Sometimes longer than that. So they don't, I think in aesthetics, we have this thing like of under promising, over delivering.
Hmm.
So it should be longer than that, could be less than that, but also, when you're, for aesthetics, the baseline of it is like subjective. So yeah. And then for non-surgical procedures, those usually last like a couple years. So if you
Sure.
do a procedure that makes your skin look young, but then you lose collagen over the next couple of years, then it'll kind of go back to the baseline that you were familiar with after like 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Strange question. Before I ask my last few questions, you know, we social media is real. TikTok, Instagram, whatever. And now it's to the point where you just get a phone and you scroll far enough to the left or right and you just get news, right? Android news, iPhone news, Google news, whatever it is. And we still see those pictures of someone doing something with plastic surgery that just looks completely outlandish to us. Where we're asking the question, what happened where you thought this was going to be okay? What happened in your life? How did you get to a place where you felt this was the way to go? What is that like from your purview? Do you see that in real time? And what's normally going on with a patient that takes them to those types of extremes?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, I think that this happens so rarely for us. So we're seeing all the other results that we
Right.
get that are undetectable.
Right.
So good plastic surgery is something that people like you and I could have absolutely no idea that you had it done, but it slightly makes you look better in the way that you wanted it to. And no, but yeah, no one else can tell. So
Sure.
the really bad ones that you're referring to, where someone took it very far, number one, obviously, I think it stems from, a deep insecurity. And you see that a lot in patients is that somewhere along the line, they, don't have any self-worth built up into how they look. And then I think one theory of this is that if someone has one really good surgery as their first surgery, for example, like you got a rhinoplasty or a nose job and it made you look better, and then you receive the positive affirmation of, hey, there's something different about you that looks really good. Hey, you look better. Maybe you attract more attention from the opposite sex or your, partners, and you're starting to receive all this positive feedback, but people can't tell what you had done. Then that may cause some people to want to keep doing that. So that
Mhm.
becomes intoxicating.
I
So,
see.
for example, like, a woman has a breast augmentation, they start getting a lot more male attention, which is if that's something that they want and something that they
Sure.
feed off of, then that starts making them feel really good about themselves. then that might cause you to then get an even bigger breast augmentation, or to then focus on, hey, I actually want to work on a different part of my body, like my butt, and I want to get, a BBL procedure done. So
Hmm.
a lot of times people can kind of take that too far. And not saying that all of it stems back from getting positive affirmation after first surgery, but we do see that a lot. So it's either I think the type of person that is never going to be happy, they're going to continue making modifications, and they're going to continue chasing that whatever they're looking for. And so
Sure.
that's what I think like causes these like really bad examples, and like plastic surgery, people in this industry hate those examples because, that's what people focus on is, oh my God, I saw this person that was
Right.
doing, oh
Right.
my gosh, they look
Yeah. And you can't. Yeah.
amazing.
It's true.
And that's not the point of plastic surgery.
Hmm. Yeah. It almost like gives a bad rap to what plastic surgery is actually supposed to mean.
100%. Like those bad results are like the 0.01% of the
Hmm.
total amount of surgeries that go on. And then all the other ones that happen, you have no idea about.
I get it. Okay. So a couple point blank questions I want you to answer. Number one, you kind of alluded to it earlier. Women are most insecure, and it sounds like women are most insecure about the midsection after kids. Is that a fair statement to make?
I think everyone's got the, one insecurity in the back of their mind that really hurts the most, I would say. And
Okay.
but I will say, for like the one of the most common things that we see is that drastic change um in a body. So, that because you have a point of reference of what your body looks like before, and then let's say over like a 6 to 8 year period, that changes a lot compared to what you're used to. I think that, yeah, that's very common.
Well, okay. Well, then let me ask you this. In general, just and this is your opinion, of course. What are women most insecure about from your vantage point?
I think that's a great question. I would say probably their bodies. I think that there is like a ton of pressure put on, number one, by the male gaze or the male attention. Um, I can go very deep into men and all the problems that we
Oh,
have,
don't worry, we will.
how
That's
we
gonna be my
create
next
that.
question.
But I
But
also
go-
think that there's a lot of pressure from social media now. Like
go-
for example, you saw in other countries now they're forcing labeling of edited photos so that
Yeah.
people
Wow.
actually understand that this is an edited photo
Yeah.
and not a real photo.
Yeah.
Because women are seeing these images of picture perfect bodies online, and they're not actually real photos.
No, I mean, I was bothered by just the other day. I had the opportunity to meet a few influencers, and one of them was a fitness influencer. And then I found out that she got a BBL, but she didn't tell anybody about it, and she's doing her thing as a fitness influencer in the gym, looking like she built this thing, but hard work and effort. And I had such an issue because I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with the fact she got a BBL, but her fans need to know so they don't kill themselves trying to look like her.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. What are men most insecure about?
I think that men for sure, like I think body has I think people with their bodies in general,
That's the thing.
yeah, like I think that for men, if you it's like kind of like the same thing. If you see a guy that is, super muscular, super tall, dark, handsome, that sort of thing, like you wanna do everything you can to get that. So I think for men, I see a lot of people concerned about their body, but also I think I think the insecurity can kind of come from, like I was saying, like you see a lot of like male facelift patients, things like that. If you're someone that had something very secure in your life, like a marriage, and then let's say like that marriage doesn't work out, then you're
Mm,
back on the
that's true.
market, and
Yeah, yeah.
and women view you as an old man. They're
Right.
kind of saying things like, why are you at this party? Why are you here? You're like an old guy, but really you're
Mhm.
just trying to socialize and be cool,
Right. You're right,
back into
right, right.
the market. So you kind of, you want to look younger because you feel like you need to look younger.
No, that makes sense. How young are you seeing this kind of work being done now? Has there been a historical trend around that? Has it always happened in a certain age group? Is that age group changing to a younger base? What's going on in that space?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do see it get younger and younger. I think that plastic surgery used to be what we called corrective, meaning that once the problem gets bad enough for you, then we're going to correct that problem. Now, a
Mhm.
lot of plastic surgery is focused on preventative. So, for
Mhm.
example, Botox, Allergan, the company that used to make Botox, now owned by AbbVie, they changed their campaign completely from marketing towards older people that have wrinkles to younger people that want to prevent wrinkles from ever happening.
Mhm.
So now you kind of see the shift in this preventative aesthetic medicine where people want to do things now to prevent bad things from happening later.
Wow.
So yeah, and then we know this in general too, is that, for example, rhinoplasties, we've seen that get younger and younger. So people want to do that at an early age. See that happen when they're 18, see parents taking in their own kids when they're
Wow.
16 and
Wow.
consenting to them getting a rhinoplasty at 16 years old. So
Wow.
that definitely happens more and more. And then, so I think the cosmetic world is no longer just this old guard of people that are doing this.
Sure.
It is very much all across the spectrum of all ages.
Sure. Now, you talked a little bit earlier about how there's such a focus now on longevity. I mean, it's always been there, but now it's kind of like it's doubling down. And I have to say, I've even gotten with it. I watched this Blue Zone. I met a family that operates in the Blue Zone by the Blue Zone's way. They told me to watch the Netflix Blue Zones documentary. Then I got the book, and now I'm Blue Zoning out. So I've changed my whole life, and I'm just fascinated by this whole thing. What can I do, if I want to say, you know what, I want to go out there and I want to start doing every preventative thing that I can within reason that will add years to my life. What would you tell me? Like, of course you don't know like the whole thing, but what are some of the things that you definitely would tell me to go and look into or start doing so that I can put myself on this track?
Yes, I mean, I think I'm a huge fan of these, like Andrew Huberman type of doctors that are focusing on longevity right now. So I think my favorite person that I've followed, his name is Dr. Peter Attia. He made a book called
I read
Outlive.
it. Outlive. Yes. Yes.
I subscribe by what he goes through in that book because I just feel like it's heavily backed by science and
Sure.
research. He seems like a very credible person. And so, I think there's so much conflicting information out there, by the way. Some people will say if you eat blueberries every single day, then you're going to live forever. And then next day you'll hear that blueberries are actually toxic and you shouldn't eat them at all. I think that in like the Instagram world of like, what do you need to do for longevity? There's so much confusion and so much change. But I do think that his book, out of all the ones that I've been exposed to, seems to be the best one.
What about the things you mentioned earlier, like the cryo this and cryo that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that these are, in my opinion, a lot of these are pseudoscience. We don't have like huge backings on whether doing cryo, for example, in a cryogen chamber, like a cold chamber, whether doing cold plunges, whether just taking cold showers, how much does this contribute to your overall health? Not sure, but I do think it's an important piece of the puzzle is having that down. And I think, heat exposure, whether, sauna, red light, all of that absolutely matters. But I think like the fundamentals of, diet and exercise and things that, you can do on a daily basis, like that, those are the building blocks and everything else is kind of
Right.
on top.
Right. I love it. Okay. We're going to bring this to a close. We got one more thing to do, which is our lightning round. But before we get that started, I got one more thing to ask you. I just think it's so cool your position, Sam, and I love and meeting you and seeing how you see your whole life and what your life means in light of your position and how you see everyone else and what they're going through. I think it's just awesome. You have a fantastic perspective. With that being said, is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience before we close today?
Yeah, so I guess what I'll tell the audience is, I absolutely love, my job and what I do. So, I feel very proud to be a salesperson. I feel very proud to be a medical device salesperson. And I feel very proud to work at my company InMode that I think, makes a huge impact on people's lives in a different way than traditional medicine. But, I would say that, if you're the type of person that, really wants a job that is fast paced, that, is very rewarding, that not all medical device companies are going to do that for you, but I think there's so many of them out there that can do that for you. And I think, I'm like, personally just so thankful that I took this route. I don't see myself, doing anything else, at least for a really long time, if not maybe the rest of my life. So, I think a lot of the people that I deal with that are looking at this job for this type of job for the first time are the type of people that are kind of like lost and they don't know what they want to do.
Mhm.
And I would just advise you to, you know, l- listen to all these podcasts, that you've done. Like, it's amazing that you're putting these together. I think it's the best idea to have a conglomeration of all these different people that have been successful in a lot of different types of industries within medical. And so it's inspiring to me to see that, like there, you could be a lost person that doesn't like your job and is super unhappy, and you're one phone call or one podcast listen away from changing that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just want to give a shout out and a tip of my hat to you for having this idea and doing this because you could change a lot of people's lives this way.
Oh, you know what? Look at you, Sam. And you have my name. I mean, come on. Does it get any better?
Yeah, yeah, great name.
So Sam, we got one last thing to do. Thank you for sharing that wonderful message. We're gonna have our lightning round now. I'm gonna ask you 4 questions. You have less than 10 seconds to answer. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. First question: what is the best book you've read in the last 6 months?
Oh, come on, easy. Outlive.
That was a softball. Okay. What's the best TV show or movie you've seen in the last 6 months?
Oh man. That's a tough one. I don't really watch a lot of TV or movies, to be honest.
No problem with that. No problem with that. So we'll just say you read more books then for that answer.
Sure, yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. And then favorite meal in the last 6 months. We want the restaurant and the item.
This was Nova Scotia lobster that I had this past weekend at um Joe Forte Steakhouse in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Whoa. Okay, that is we got recommendations from Canada now.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll add that to the destination list. And then last but not least, what is the best experience you've had in the last 6 months?
Uh, my twin brother having a baby for sure. Seeing,
Oh, that's
making eye contact with a baby that's in my family for the first time was, yeah, hands down, like life changing and coolest thing ever.
amen to that. And
Yeah.
I wonder if the baby was confused at any moment of
I
you.
know, I know. Yeah, I don't think she realized.
Well, anyway, Sam, this was fantastic. You're doing amazing things out there. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us, and thank you for being on the Medical Sales Podcast.
Okay, thank you too. This is great. Appreciate you a lot.
And that was Sam Cooper. Wow. Wow is the word of the day after an episode like that. So listen, you've listened to Sam Cooper. Let's say you even want to work for Sam Cooper. What are you going to do? You're going to visit evolveyoursuccess.com because it's class acts like that you get access to that can help you get to where you want to be. But I'm going to say no more. Go to evolveyoursuccess.com, visit our site, fill out the application, schedule time with one of our account executives, and let's get you going. As always, we do our best to bring you guests who are doing things differently in the medical sales space. So make sure you tune in next week for another episode of the Medical Sales Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a customized and personalized program that gets you into the medical technology industry as a sales professional or any type of role for that matter. Become a top performer in your position and masterfully navigate your career to executive level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolveyoursuccess.com by visiting our site, filling out an application, schedule some time with one of our account executives, and allowing us to get you where you need to be. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews on the Medical Sales Podcast.